name is John William Matuccio. I'm 89 years old. In a few months, I'll be 90. I served in the 336th Engineers Combat Battalion. My active part of the service was I was into the Coast Artillery at the beginning of 1940. I joined up for 1 year to avoid the draft. The draft period was if you did 1 year in service that you were exempt from the draft. So in October of the following year, 1941, I was discharged from the Coast Artillery, and that was in Hull, Massachusetts, Nantasket Beach area. So I was discharged and I came out of the Coast Artillery. In 1942, I was drafted. So I was reported to the draft, and I went to Fort Devens, and from Fort Devens, we went to the debarkation center in Boston, Massachusetts, and we got on this small ship. It wasn't a ship, it was a boat, the Shawnee. And from the Shawnee, we left the United States, and we ended up in Pontarddulais, Wales. From Wales, we traveled to England, and from England, we went to the different parts to perform our duty as amphibious engineers. Well, I felt good when I knew I wasn't going to be drafted. You know, that was my first year. But the second year wasn't bad because I got married. I got married in 1942, and I was drafted. So you see, and I wasn't supposed to be drafted. I had a job that was supposed to exempt me. I was making drift pins for the for wharfs and all that. A machinist, and then it didn't make no difference. Off I went. Well, it wasn't bad because, you see, I was already a soldier. I was a private. And I knew what the code, you know, the arms and what the rifle and the firing of it and marching and right, left, you know. And then all that stuff came to me easy on the second time because I was immediately made a corporal. And then when they shipped us out, I was made a staff sergeant. Well, you see, I had the experience of 1 year. Well, as times went on, and fellas started to get hurt, and the first sergeant of my company, when we hit the beach, he became a second lieutenant. Well, he made that promotion anyway, and I was made first sergeant. So you see, that 1 year in the service paid off. But the basic training was made in Dothan, Alabama, at Camp Rucker, Alabama. And we were supposed to be general service engineers at the beginning. But it was all changed. When the war started with the Japanese and the Germans with England, we were renamed to the 336th Combat Engineers. Well, from there, we had taken all amphibious landings you know, hitting the different beaches and going ashore and doing what we were supposed to do. On June 6th, 1944, we were all put together on the big vessels, and off we went to the beaches, the different beaches that were made out to the different countries that had to hit certain areas. We had the Omaha Beach, Red Beach. And from there on, we went to, from the beginning of France to the end of the, into Germany, the Elbe River. We crossed most rivers in Germany, the Rhine and the Seine and whatever you want to call them. And we ended up putting the large bridge, the Elbe River, to join in with the Russians and into Berlin. One Christmas, we gave a party to the kids in France, a Christmas party. And Capobianco was the mess sergeant. And he went aboard one of the ships and took a coffee, not a coffee, but a ice cream machine, and he made ice cream. And we gave all sea rations, and there's the chocolate bars in there. And we had kids, and I often wondered if some of those kids would remember. Now, they'd be old men by now. That was one of the things that we all liked doing. Well, a little confusing at first, really. And I had a son I hadn't seen for 2 years. See? He was born in January 1st, 1946. And he was at the year of the big war. And when I came home, my wife said, gee, don't be surprised. And he used to say, Mommy, is this the man? And she said, yeah, this is your daddy. So you see, that went on for quite a while, until he got to know that I was his daddy. Oh, it meant anything. You can't imagine how we wanted to get that job done and done right. Oh, no. You got to give those men credit. Oh, they died, boy, they died for their country. See, I get goose pimples talking about those guys. I kept in touch with every man. I have a roster, and I kept I used to send Christmas cards every year. But lately, the Christmas cards have got very, very slim. And I have 2 colonels that are still alive. One is the man who was a big man during the war, the invasion, Colonel Bennett. And another one was Colonel Gustina. And those 2 fellas are still alive. But the rest, I never heard any more. And how many veterans? I don't think I heard 20 from 25 of them. Well, give him a little more thought, something nice. Give him something to remember, the thing he had done for his country. You know, when somebody gives up their life, that's a big thing. And they were young men, 19 years old. See, I'm getting a little worked up over that now. Well, we did a little of the we tried to get the different towns that we went through organized. And we went into their, like the mayor's office, and gave advice, made food lines for the different people there. You know, those German people, they suffered as much. I'm talking about the civilians now, never mind the troops, because they had SS troops. They didn't care who they killed. They would just as soon kill you as look at you. And they were young, nasty-looking men. They weren't men, they were young men. And they had no feeling. The Americans had feeling. You know, they cared. Now, we cared about the people. We gave them the stuff we used to throw away from mess, you know, from our lunches and dinners. They wanted the barrel that we threw them in. That's how hungry they were. See, Hitler only cared for his men, fighting men. And that's what he wanted. But the Americans, they have a heart. And you got to give them credit for that. I think that when you talk to anybody, they have an idea of what the veteran went through. You know, he didn't have an easy job. I mean, when you're here in this country and you're taking training, well, at weekends you can go home. But we depended on letters to see how everything was going back home. And when it came time to go and hit and take out an empty field of mines, and they had, not only did they have the mines there, with our mine detector, we could detect the mine, but they had chewed up metal that they threw all over the whole field. And your mine detector used to pick up all the sounds. You didn't know whether it was a mine or a piece of scrap iron. So that was another thing that was very dangerous. I mean, we had to clear ammunition dumps, food dumps, gas dumps. We had to keep roads open. Then we had to repair. And that wasn't an easy job. Work, there was 24 hours a day work. There wasn't no sleeping too much at that job. Oh, we were glad to get home.